So I first started thinking about free soloing El Cap in probably 2008, 2009. And then the first several years, it was just this abstract dream. And each time I looked at the wall, it would fill me with fear. And then I had a couple of distinct experiences on El Cap where I was like, oh, I could actually imagine being up here ropeless. I had to sort of accept the dream, or sort of like embrace the vision of it before I could get into the nitty-gritty.
EP poured the first handhold in 1985. Here we are 30 years later. Chances are if you climbed inside, you've climbed on an EP hold.
We are doing it live from Reno, Nevada. This is the semifinal round of the 2018 Sport Climbing National Championships. Welcome, everybody, inside Mesa Rim here in Reno, Nevada. Brian Reynolds and Chris Widener here. The semifinal action. And Chris, it may be snowy outside, but inside Mesa Rim here, conditions are prime for some semifinals action this morning.
Yep, it sure is today. Brian, we had an exciting qualifying round yesterday. Gosh, I don't even know where to start. We had we had 45 women and 77 men, and we boiled it down to 23 women here in semifinals and 22 men.
And notably, not in those qualifying fields were our champions from last year, Ashima Shiraishi and Kai Leitner, so we're going to have a fresh national champion in 2018. But leading the pack, speaking of national champions for the women, coming out of qualifying yesterday was Alex Puccio, the only woman to complete both qualifiers. But she is followed by a familiar group: Michaela Kirsch, Brooke Rabatu, Kyra Condi, Margot Hayes, Delaney Miller back with us as well. So very competitive women's field. And for the men, Chris, who do we have?
Gosh, for the men, we have Dalton Bunker, Drew Rawana, Nathaniel Coleman, our current bouldering champion, Sean Bailey, returning national sport climbing champion, Ross Fulkerson, and Josh Levin, among others. So the men's were a little less predictable. That top 10 in the men really was kind of a coin toss, whereas the women's field was fairly predictable and consistent throughout the past couple of years.
Yeah, we saw that. So yesterday qualifiers was 2 routes for both the men and the women. Red point format, so they got to watch each other climb. And for the women, Alex Puccio was clearly the best on those 2 routes. A lot of the women climbed the first route, but the second route, Alex Puccio was the only one to finish it. So she has separated herself in that regard. For the men, though, a 4-way tie for the men, having they all sent both Route A and Route B yesterday. So going to have to step it up here a little bit from the route setter's perspective today.
Yeah, and it's hard to overstate that Alex Puccio did not only climb both of the routes, she hiked them both. Even when other major contenders such as Michaela and Brooke and Delaney and Margot and Kyra, they all struggled visibly on that Route B and fell before the chains. And gosh, Alex just hiked it. It was pretty impressive.
And it's kind of funny. It was basically, I mean, in 2018, it was basically a slab route. You know, it was maybe just vertical or past vertical. And so to see Alex Puccio be the only competitor to make it to the top was kind of surprising, actually.
It was surprising. We have also in the women's field today in semifinals quite a few names coming up from the youth that you may not have heard before. So it's going to be an awesome and always quick semifinal round. They just come down after either falling or clipping the chains, and they'll move right on to the next. There's no waiting for both genders to finish their route. So this is just going to fly through today. And it's going to be quick going into the finals round this evening.
And for those finals tonight, that'll get started at 6:30 local time here. Be taking the top 8 competitors from semifinals into finals. You can check out the live results as we go through semifinals here at usaclimbing.org. You'll see where your favorite climber is in the rankings as we're about to get started here. Semifinals, you can see our first male competitor there, John Rossler.
Yeah, it's exciting. Sorry to interrupt there, Brian. It's exciting to see John in there. It seems like he barely squeaked in, but he has been a very competitive guy in the past year.
Yeah, John's a 20-year-old climber from Plano, Texas. He's our reigning speed climbing national champion. We'll be having the finals for speed climbing later on tonight after lead finals is over, so we'll be seeing John again trying to defend his speed climbing national championship once again.
Right there, we're looking at Taya Wolf. And she was in 6th place in the Youth A Bouldering Nationals just last month.
And we got climbers left and right. The action begins.
Getting our first look at the walls here at Mesa Rim, Reno. Brand new facility that opened last August. Still got that new gym smell. or it just doesn't smell like feet quite yet.
Not yet, Brian.
but the walls are not too tall, so the competitors are really going to have their work cut out for them. There's not a lot of room for resting or much easy climbing. As we can see, John here moving nicely. We thought this bottom section might be a little tricky, but
a view of Taya Wolf there. These competitors, many of them were climbing until late in the evening last night. So even though they only climbed a couple routes yesterday, that involved warming up twice in many cases in the bouldering area and climbing some of them until 10 or 11 last night. So here we are. Hopefully they've had a bit of coffee this morning to get them going. It's a long weekend of climbing for these competitors. Pretty exciting.
the scoring in these sport climbing comps is relatively straightforward. Competitors get points for each hold they control, just like Taya there, reaching out for that left-hand pocket. And there are some fractional points for making positive movement like that. John falling about halfway up this men's semifinal route. So that's going to do it for John Brossler and Taya Wolf. Need somebody down there helping people untie their knots. Coming out next for the men is going to be 17-year-old Zach Galla, the sensation from last month's Bouldering Nationals in Salt Lake City. Surprise finalist. But you only get the surprise this once, Chris.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he was super strong in the Bouldering Nationals, and I expect the same from him today here at Sport. And for the women, we've got Megan Martin coming out. Megan is 28 years old, and she's living in Boulder, Colorado. Team ABC coach. She was 6th place in the 2018 Bouldering Nationals last month, and really the only competitions that she's shined in that I know of anyway, outside of the bouldering, is she's done very well at the Seca Block Masters. She placed 2nd in 2015 and 3rd in 2013. She's been a competitor for a very long time, and excited she made semis today.
Yeah, Megan is just a really good competitor. Doesn't matter the format, it seems. Even there's no climbing involved, as you may see her on your local NBC station doing the Ninja Warrior thing. Funny seeing commercials for that during the Olympics and seeing Megan Martin in the promos for Ninja Warrior. Keep in mind, all the competitors are waiting in the back in isolation during semifinals, so they're not getting to see how the other climbers are doing or the different methods that they're figuring out. So on-site format here.
Which is quite different than the qualifying round yesterday. The competitors had videos of the routes in a loop. They had somebody climbing both female routes, both male routes in the back, and they could just watch the videos and try to get the beta that way. So it's pretty interesting how the qualies work. And as Brian just mentioned, this is on-site, so they just had 5 minutes to check it out. And Megan not getting as far as we would have hoped. But that trademark smile is still on her face. Love it.
Zach transitioning out onto the steeper section of the wall here at Mesa Rim. Wall starts out not too steep, and then this middle section here is the steepest before transitioning to a just past vertical head wall at the top. Get a nice look at it here.
And our next competitor for the ladies up onto the chair and almost ready to go. Give it up for Sammy Singleton.
Nice use of all the features there from Zach Galla.
Zach is one of the shorter male competitors, which I think over time might lend itself to really learning how to climb better rather than being able to reach through a lot of cruxes.
It's really moving with a lot of confidence through this section. That's going to do it for Zach Galla. Nice effort from him. We'll see how that holds up. Still got 20 more male competitors to come in semifinals here, but we saw during Bouldering Nationals, he came out pretty early in semifinals and punched his ticket to finals. So we will see how that goes. He's got to stay in the top 8.
We're looking at Sammy Singleton from Salt Lake City. She's 15 years old, and this is her first adult sport nationals. She was the national youth sport climbing champion in Youth B last year. And she made a very good showing also in Bouldering Nationals this year. So excited to see how things go for Sammy.
You always wonder what sort of nerves there are in your first adult nationals. And most of these climbers have been doing this at the youth level for a long time. Sammy, no exception there, as you mentioned, with her national championship last year. But adult national is always a little bit different. Taya Wolf with the high point so far for the women. As we get our next male competitor out on the wall here, Ben Hanna, 19-year-old from Santa Fe, New Mexico.
That was fun seeing Ben climb yesterday on that one route. He felt actually a little low because he tried something no other competitor did, which was a fist jam between these two pinches. And it looked like it was going to work well, and then he just surprisingly shot off the wall as it slipped out. But really happy Ben Hanna made it here to semifinals, even with that slip.
It looks like Sammy Singleton fell right around the same area that Taya Wolf did.
Next up on the left for the ladies, we are going to have Maggie Hammer.
Sammy's not going to be happy with that one. That's too bad.
See if Ben can figure out this clip here. Clipping is an important part of the sequence that the climbers have to figure out. If they move past a draw without clipping it, they are called down. So important for them to consider that as they move through these sequences. Ben does not look real comfortable right now. You can see those holds, though, are just not very good, but he's able to use both sides of the volumes there. But that's going to be it for Ben Hanna.
And for the ladies, Maggie Hammer is making her way up the wall. She's already at about the third clip. Maggie Hammer, we've seen her brother in a lot of competitions, Max Hammer, and actually in a wonderful showing, her mom, Lisa Hammer, yesterday competed in the speed qualifiers. That was fun to watch. So a true family event here at Sport and Speed Nationals. Love the cable cam angles here.
Told that she just moved her hand onto and off of is much better from underneath. Not able to figure that out, though, for Maggie Hammer. That's going to do it. For her 2018 Sport Climbing National Championships, as we get a look at our next male competitor pulling onto the wall here. 20-year-old Martin Kuhnel from Scottsdale, Arizona.
Level, power, endurance, technique. They're going to have to run the gamut and do it all.
Loves physics and astronomy.
And about to get started on the left-hand side for the ladies, we have Maya Madare.
That's Maya Madare. I think bouldering is more her thing, but she climbed very well yesterday. She did awesome in Bouldering Nationals this year. She was first introduced to climbing at 10 years old by her parents. Austin native.
Maya was mentioning that she's been dealing with some injuries of late that came around Bouldering Nationals. So still impacting her ability to prepare. But she did well enough to make it into the semifinals yesterday.
Yeah, it sure seemed that in Bouldering Nationals, a lot of climbers were dealing with finger injuries, and in just a short month, they have not gone away necessarily. In fact, that's why Ashima Shiraishi is not competing today. Her shoulder injury that she competed with in Bouldering Nationals actually got worse during that comp, and so she was just unable to make it happen today.
That's going to do it for Martin Kuhnel there. Not quite able to get to the top of that volume. So Zach Gall still in front for the men. A little bit of deja vu from Bouldering Nationals.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on Maya here. She mentioned that her left hip has been bothering her as well, so
no heel hooking for her on
Yeah.
the left is what she
I
said.
think
Yeah.
she might be in luck on this route as long as she doesn't get to the last move. There you see John Brock, next competitor out for the guys. 17-year-old from Team Texas. John took 10th at Youth Nationals last year for sport climbing. Trying to better that here at Adult Nationals. There you see Maya nicely using her heel to get into that undercling.
Wow, that looks like quite the bouldering sequence. Spitting off all competitors, men and women, here at about the halfway point and below.
Yeah, so Taya Wolf still in first place for the women. First woman out, setting a high point that has yet to be matched.
And we're only taking about a third of the women and men from semis into finals, so it's going to be a tough one here.
And there you see some live scores. Key thing to keep in mind basically is that ranking points lower is better. That's their ranking on the semifinal route. So Zach Gall is in first place, Taya Wolf in first place based on their score on the semifinals route.
On the left for the ladies, about to get started, we have Amelia Markison.
Still waiting to get our first glimpse of the head wall on either of these routes. Remember, the climbers are coming out in reverse order of qualifying, so the top qualifiers from yesterday are going to be the last ones out. So Alex Pucci will be last for the women, and Dalton Bunker last for the guys.
You can see the hands of Amelia Markison starting up the female route. There she is, Amelia Markison. She placed 8th in Bouldering Nationals this year, Youth Nationals, that is. Wow.
So another fall in that section there. Martin, that went right before John, did the same method that Zach Gallo did, using the lower part of the volume, even though there's not a discrete handhold on it, but using that to generate some momentum. See how many climbers get stymied by that move.
Yeah, you know, when these competitors are heading up and falling off halfway up the wall or lower than that, it's just none of them have seemed that satisfied with their performance, and yet maybe they just don't realize that everybody else is falling there as well. So hopefully they're actually doing a little better than they thought. But we are about to see the strongest climbers come out as it goes on here. So hopefully we'll see some folks pushing past that barrier. A great show there by Amelia Markuson, getting to a similar spot as many of the other women so far.
Yeah, we haven't gotten a look at the full wall just yet, but the walls are not so tall that you can afford to have easy sections of climbing. It's got to be hard the whole way so that we can get some separation going into finals. So not too surprising to see the early people in semifinals falling about halfway up. Pretty much what you'd expect. Now next for the guys here, Alex Waterhouse, 20-year-old, originally from England, in the U.S., going to Dartmouth.
For the ladies, we have Hannah Tolson.
Former British junior bouldering champion. Also took 9th at Bouldering Nationals here in the U.S. last year.
And that's Hannah Tolson. She was a collegiate national champion sport climber from Gonzaga University. Hannah is a 5-time U.S. national team member. In 2014, she was one of the Young Guns. That's an award from the North Face.
Alex looking strong side by side.
Hannah Tolson is hoping to attend medical school. There's such a difference watching these climbers in the on-site format versus having so much beta from the videos in qualifying round. I mean, they really are just climbing and figuring it out as they go here, and it's a very different style to watch.
Yeah, such a difference from the bouldering comps where you see Alex fall there. The on-site style is similar in bouldering, but you get more than one try. So there's opportunity to correct mistakes or feel out the climbs, but these sport climbing comps, you just get one shot and that's it.
Oh, yeah.
But I think
Hannah getting pretty high, but still kind of falling off in that same zone.
I think that's right around the high point that Taya Wolf had. Basically falling on the same move, going up off that left-handed pocket. So still looking for a breakthrough for the women there, and for the men, I think Zach Gall is still going to be in front as well. Remember, you can check out usaclimbing.org for all the results and running orders and schedules. We're going to take our top 8 to finals tonight. That'll be going live at 6:30 local time, Pacific time, as it were. Semifinals moving very quickly here. We're almost halfway through already for the women.
We're looking at Elena Holbert here. Interesting. brief little history here that you can see online about Elena Holbert is that she was born in China during the one-child policy, when it was not uncommon for young girls to either be killed or abandoned, and Elena was actually left at a train station not long after being born, and eventually, of course, adopted. So wow, that's quite the story.
And here for the guys, Sam McQueen, 16-year-old from Sunnyvale, California. Big contingent of competitors from California making the trip over here to Reno, despite the massive snowstorm the last couple days dumping in the mountains.
Elena's in Colorado, and actually male competitor Augie Cohn is her coach. Yeah, that crossover, it seems like these competitors are either reading it correctly right away and doing it, or they're falling off. That's, yeah, like you said earlier, Brian, how it goes in sport climbing comps. One shot. Wow.
So everyone, both the men and the women, having trouble with the midsection of their respective routes.
I'm having trouble with my midsection these days too, Brian. I got to keep the pounds off.
You and me both. We move right along to our next pair of competitors here for the guys coming out. It's going to be 16-year-old Stefan Fellner
and Melina Costanza. Now, Melina actually was in 8th place last Sport Nationals, 2017, 8th place. Melina is a very good climber. Seattle, Washington, and gosh, I think she is kind of an underdog who could do super well.
There's Stefan.
Melina is 18 years old on Team Vertical World.
And these sport climbing comps are really interesting, Chris, because you get such a clear example of the different skill levels of the competitors as we go through the round. We're going to see the top qualifiers come out and just move right past some of these sections that the earlier competitors have struggled with.
That's right, yeah. Stefan Fellner there, he is certainly one to watch. He is a very accomplished outdoor climber, and I wouldn't be surprised if he moves past the current high point, or at least matches Zach Gala. We saw a low fall there from Melina Costanza.
And really one of the things that separated Zach's attempt from the other guys is the confidence that he moved with. He didn't spend a lot of time in this section. He just executed the moves like he had almost done them before.
Yeah, that is a trademark of the more experienced competitors. I know Zach has done a ton of comps in the youth. Wow, even Stefan getting thwarted by that sequence.
He didn't use the bump hold outright. It just requires a level of strength that most of the competitors don't seem to have to do it without that hold.
Natalia on the wall, on the left, getting things started for the ladies.
That's Natalia Grossman from Boulder, Colorado, another Team ABC member, of which there are many here today and always in these comps. Natalia was 4th place in Youth Worlds a few years ago. That was in 2015, among many other high showings in comps more recently.
Natalia is someone I'm really expecting to break through one of these years, Chris. I've been seeing her on the youth circuit for years now. Still looking for that breakthrough adult performance.
Yeah, and she started to break through a bit last year in sport climbing. She was just behind Melina Costanza in 9th place last year. So, yeah, she's maybe inching up toward the podium.
And Nick Milburn getting things started on the right.
And you saw out there for the guys, 23-year-old Nicholas Milburn from Lafayette, Tennessee. Loves cooking gourmet meals and unicycling. Unclear if that's at the same time. I'll have to ask him when he's done here. But Nick's been competing for a long time. Not be surprised at all to see him make it through to finals. As another low fall for the women there for Natalia Grossman.
Wow, this is pretty interesting here because we are close to the halfway point here in semifinals, and none of these athletes are getting too high. But as you said, Brian, maybe we're just going to see the cream rise to the top, as it were, as this comp goes on.
Next up on the left-hand side for the ladies, we have Sophia Kwan.
There's a look at Sophia Kwan, our next competitor. She placed 3rd in this year's Bouldering Youth National Championships.
See if Nick can sort this out. You can see at the bottom of the right volume, there's actually a little bit of a foot or a little bit of a thumb catch there. There's a good look at it. That's what Zach Alley used, and Nick just tries to go for it and not able to figure it out there for Nick Milburn. So we're starting to see a trend there for the guys. If you don't use that low holdout right, you're not going to have much success. So the route setter is really punishing the climbers for not executing that move. It's a delicate balance for the route setters. They want to make the moves difficult and reward climbers for, being creative. But it can be a fine line sometimes.
Next up on the right for the guys, we're going to have Tim Kang.
Now next for the guys is going to be 18-year-old Tim Kang from Mountain View, California. Took 8th at Youth Nationals last year for sport climbing.
Sophia Kwan trying to figure out, doing kind of a heel-toe cam, it looks like. Not going to work. Gosh, what a tricky section here.
And that's pretty good holds there once you get into them. You get a really nice look at that right-hand hold there. It's pretty positive if you can get under your body in the right position. Still looking for somebody to break through this next move.
Can Sophia do it?
She's locked in.
New high point for the women. This is the first time that quick draw has been clipped.
So well done for Sophia Kwan there. She looks so strong when she pressed into that corner, Chris.
The core tension there was amazing. I mean, no sagging, whereas most of the other competitors who got there kind of drooped down and off the wall, and she was just solid. That was great. Fun to watch.
There's Timothy Kang for the guys. Still looking to match the high point from Zach Galla. Almost 10 climbers ago at this point. This semifinals round is moving quickly when the climbers are falling low like this.
Yeah, this round is going a lot faster than I think even the organizers anticipated with all the low falls.
It's tough, especially for the guys. You know, the route setters know that they needed to ramp up the difficulty after qualifiers yesterday with the top 4 male competitors finishing both qualifiers routes, so they don't want to have ties in semifinals. It makes it difficult to get separation going into finals. Timothy, one of the first climbers to get to that move in quite some time. Oh, he second-guessed himself there and paid the price. But a really nice climb there for Tim Kang from Mountain View, California. Going to be happy with that.
This is Lauren Barry. To graduate high school in 2020, the same year as the first climbing Olympics. Lauren placed 12th out of the 45 women yesterday.
She seems a little uncomfortable here. Looks like she clipped one move too soon there. Used a lot of energy. See if she can regroup here as she moves onto the steeper section of the wall. Pressing onto the wall here for the men is Solomon Barth, 20-year-old from Collegeville, Pennsylvania. Currently going to school at Stanford. Took 7th at Bouldering Nationals this year. Just missing finals.
Oh. And another kind of fall from 15-year-old Lauren Barry there from Sacramento.
Solomon's been doing these comps for a really long time. Still looking for him to break through at the adult level.
Coming up next on the left for the ladies, your very own Emma Palmer.
Has taken first at Collegiate Nationals. Huge crowd support for him here last night during qualifiers.
And this is local Reno, Nevada climber Emma Palmer. She's 17 years old and placed 5th in this year's Youth A Bouldering Nationals. Certainly a crowd favorite today.
Yeah, Emma really stuck out for me during qualifiers yesterday. I hadn't seen her climb before. She climbed really well. Plus the name of her climbing team is pretty smart. Unfortunately, Solomon Barth might be getting himself into an untenable situation here. He's got that clip. Nicely done from Solomon Barth. Get a sense for how steep the wall is there.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Just moving onto the head wall. That was a strong move there from Solomon Barth. A long pull.
Oh, my. Awkward. That
He
was
is-
awesome.
Really moving his body so smartly. That is going to be a possible high point for the men there for Solomon Barth. We'll have to check the scores here in a few minutes, but if that wasn't a high point, it's very close.
Yeah, and as you were saying, Brian, Emma Palmer, her team name is the Frayed Knots. Frayed Knot. Yeah, yesterday during qualifiers, I think we both looked up there and a couple different times. Wait, who is that? Emma Palmer, Reno, Nevada.
It's one of the fun things about sport nationals and bouldering nationals. When they move around to different parts of the country, it kind of brings out different local flavors, different climbers that maybe wouldn't have competed in nationals had the comp not been in their area. So always fun to see a climber like Emma Palmer doing well. Especially love to see them make it through the finals. It makes the atmosphere that much better. Oh, and a slip there is going to most likely end her weekend. But great climbing from Emma Palmer.
On the right for the guys, we have Noah Ridge.
Out next for the guys, past podium finisher at Sport Nationals, Noah Ridge,
People keep in mind it does
23-year-old from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Climbs at a gym called The A.
Past podium and just missed the podium last year in fourth place.
you have plenty of time to grab the best seat in the house. If you're not going to be here, you can tune in live online for the free Louder Than 11 live stream at lt11.tv. Next up on the left for the ladies.
And a face you surely recognize, Claire Burfind, 19 years old from Plano, Texas. She has seen many podiums. She is actually last year's Speed National champion. She placed 6th in Sport Nationals last year, 4th place in Bouldering Nationals last month, and she was the World Youth Champion in both lead and bouldering last year. Claire Burfind. 10th in qualifiers, but only because of kind of an unfortunate slip. I think she looked really confident and strong and appeared to be climbing better than her 10th place finish in qualifiers would have made you think.
Yeah, Claire really focused on competing these days. Got her eyes on those 2020 Olympics that we were referencing before. She's one of the more well-rounded women in the U.S. Been a champion at all 3 disciplines. See Sophia Kwan there out in front now for the women.
Brian, I'd be surprised if we don't see Claire get a high point.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's one of those cases where somebody you expect to be near the podium just qualify a little bit lower than you'd expect. Moving pretty quickly through the part where almost all the women had struggled. Same for Noah Ridge here. Just trying to figure out what he wants to do. He's not quite sure. And Barndoor's right off there. He looked really solid. He just, this onside format, you only get one chance really to figure out how you're going to do a move. And if it doesn't work out, you're kind of out of luck.
Yeah, and meanwhile, here goes Claire solidly into the high point range without having seemed to really try that hard yet. That is the difference here between the champions and the other competitors.
Claire only a couple holds below the finish at this point. Just 2 clips. So she is threatening to top this thing out. She looks
Wow.
doesn't really look tired, and at this point, that section of the wall is more or less vertical, so she can just keep her feet solid.
Putting all 5 feet 11 inches to use there on that clip. That was awesome.
definitely a tricky finishing sequence. This volume that she's going to is just a 90-degree corner. And yeah, very powerful move there. But a high point for Claire Burfine.
Mega high point. That was awesome.
Remember, she's just got to be in the top 8 to make it into finals. And then the scores reset. So seems like a pretty good score for her to make it into finals. But we will have to see. There's not too many climbers still to go, actually, that could keep her out of finals. As we look at another past finals here, Jessie Grouper pulling onto the wall for the men. Jessie's a 21-year-old from Montclair, New Jersey.
And another Reno local, Jenny Jang, 16 years old. She placed second in last year's Youth Sport Nationals. And she sure put on a great show in qualifiers. Another competitor that we had to do a double take on the wall. She was doing so well and beating many of the other big names in the qualifiers. So really excited for Jenny Jang here. Local favorite.
Jessie Grouper has finished twice at Sport National. Finished second twice at Sport Nationals, last year and in 2015. So he can only improve by winning the comp. But first he's got to make it into finals.
People, as a climber, your skin is one of your most important commodities, and in steps Rhino Skin Solutions.
Still looking for the first guy to move onto the head wall. We've seen Zach Gow and Noah Ridge get close. And
some
Solomon
precarious,
Bars.
some precarious clipping positions for both competitors.
Not a lot of clipping jugs on the men's route.
Yeah.
And the fall in that section where a pretty big logjam for the guys there. So that's going to jeopardize Jessie's chances of making it into finals with most of our top qualifiers still to come.
Oh, wow. That was kind of a surprise there. Jenny Jang slipping off a little low. She's not looking too happy about that one. That's too bad.
And I think anybody that has done a rope comp like this knows that it's often really surprising when you fall. 1 second you're climbing and you're in the zone, and the next second you're off the wall and you're like, what happened? I would like to do that over again. I wouldn't.
Yeah, and as you mentioned earlier, Brian, it's so much different in the bouldering nationals where, you slip off and you do get another chance. But here, that's it. That is it.
And our next competitors for the guys out of the chair, ready to go. We have Andrew Nimmer on the right.
Eyeing up the route next for the guys here. 22-year-old Andrew Nimmer from Pewaukee, Wisconsin. Adventure Rock's own.
And Sienna Kopp, 15 years old from Golden, Colorado. She placed third in the 2018 Youth Nationals of bouldering just last month. That was really cool to see her climb last month, getting a first view into the future. I think Sienna Kopp is right up there.
People, it's been a close competition so far, but if you're looking to see how it's all panning out in real time, take a look at the screen.
Andrew's still looking for his first adult finals. Actually, I think he made finals a couple years ago, but looking to improve on that this year.
Later on tonight at 6:15, where we will narrow it down to just one, and they will become the new national champion.
There's a finalist back in 2015, looks like. And Chris, one of the interesting things leading into rope nationals that's different than bouldering nationals, there's really no season for sport climbing comps in the U.S. For bouldering nationals, we have the National Cup Series, and there's a bunch of local comps. But for sport climbing, bouldering nationals just 5 weeks ago, and not really sure where people are at in their sport climbing games.
That's a really good point, Brian. We have such a good view into who might be on the podium and how people are doing throughout that National Cup Bouldering Series. But it's kind of anybody's deal here when people show up and tie in. It's like, who knows? We saw some pretty interesting things happening yesterday in the qualifiers with a couple folks who clearly weren't belonging, and then a bunch of folks who surprised us with their prowess. So, yeah, anything can happen, and that was right then and there a simul fall kind of low for both competitors.
Yeah, you can see once Andrew bobbled that clip, it's really hard to recover mentally when you're kind of in a tense situation and you're kind of need that clip to bail you out so you can keep going higher. To have to redo it, often difficult to recover from. So that's going to do it this weekend for Andrew Nimmer.
And you can see the judges confirm with the athletes once they're back on the ground that this is in fact their high point. They just need to make sure they confirm those points so that everyone's in agreement to try to minimize any disagreements later on.
And let's hear for our next competitors. On the right for the guys.
So just 8 male competitors to go here.
On the left for the ladies, Katie Lamb.
7 women. Out next for the guys, 21-year-old Joe Diaz. Climbing out of California.
And 21-year-old Katie Lamb. She is a student in computer science and environmental engineering at Stanford University. And she made it clear to me at Bouldering Nationals, we had a brief chat, that studying and her schooling is her priority right now over climbing. Yet still, she is crushing it. If I had to guess, I would guess that Katie will make finals. Just throwing it out there.
Joe says he likes to play the ukulele. I'm pretty sure I saw him playing it in ISO yesterday before qualifiers. So maybe get him to play some later for us.
I haven't seen too much green out there on these competitors, but it is St. Patrick's Day, so everybody, happy St. Patty's Day. Not sure the ukulele fits in there, but I'm sure we could make it happen. Ooh.
And another low fall for the women there. So,
wow, quite low. That was just the second clip. Okay, well, my prediction was wrong. Unfortunately, we will not be seeing Katie Lamb in the finals.
I think they would call it a curse of the commentator, but there's no such thing because they can't hear us.
Yeah, but curses, Brian, defy logic.
That's true.
You never know.
That is how they work. So Joe looking very comfortable here. See him really using both feet there, hug that hold and making this clip look very casual. So it's often the little differences that make the end result change here.
Gosh, yeah, they all kind of pause here and I think have found that the holds are different than they expected because they all kind of are like, wait, what now?
So I don't think we've seen anybody get really solidly onto the hold up and left of Joe here on that volume. I think it's just really hard for the competitors to actually see what they want to do. The hold is not super visible from below, so they can't get a good sense of which direction to grab it in. And then their feet, as we saw earlier, your foot just kind of opens up your body because you have to drop your right foot off. Joe finding a nice rest there.
You could kind of see the sewing machine leg on his right foot. He's like, well, I better go.
Come on, Joe.
He's really climbing smart, though, Chris. Not getting rattled. Oh, wow.
Joe Diaz, ladies and gentlemen.
So that's going to do it for Joe Diaz. He's going to get credit for that clip, but I didn't actually grab that hold on the head wall. So we'll have to see where that slots him.
And meanwhile, Delaney Miller is already a couple clips up. Delaney did not compete in last year's Sport Climbing Nationals, but let's not forget that she is the 2014 and 2015 Sport Climbing champion, and she is back for more this year. So she took a year off, did a bunch of outdoor climbing, but I think she may have recharged and is ready to try to dominate here again today.
Yeah, it was fun to see her climb yesterday. It's, like you said, we haven't seen her at Nationals in a couple years now, so always interesting to see where climbers are at. Seemed like she was the same Delaney Miller that we've come to expect over the years.
Yeah, her last year competing a lot was 2016, and it just wasn't her year. Previously, she was actually the national champion sport climber in 2013 as well, placing second to Charlotte Darif, who was a foreign national. But yeah, after winning the national championship 3 years in a row, she had a kind of a rough sport nationals and not the best World Cup circuit in 2016. But she's back, and really excited to see Delaney competing in this field. Kind of her signature, very methodical style of climbing.
We're getting to the point, Chris, where just about any woman that gets past this section is going to make it into finals. It's just the top 8 out of the 23 semifinalists are going to make it for the women. And there are not very many semifinalists to go here.
Delaney is a Team Texas athlete.
Just hesitated there. That she couldn't quite see where she was going after that, and
you know, yeah, and she shook her head when she came down, but I don't think she realized that she actually got one of the higher points on that route there. I think hopefully she'll be more satisfied once she realizes that.
And that was Remy Arata there, 21-year-old from Boulder, falling in the same section that a lot of the guys have fallen in at this point. And I see him thanking the judges down there. Definitely want to give a big thanks to all the judges and belayers, everyone helping make the comp work here this weekend. Largely volunteers making these comps happen, so could not do it without them. As we get an updated look at our semifinal scores, Solomon Barth, Zach Galla, and Noah Ridge, the top 3 for the guys so far. And for the women, Claire Burfine, Delaney Miller, and Sophia Kwan.
Yeah, again, I doubt. I doubt Delaney knows that she's in second place. That was actually quite the showing.
And that pretty much means she's going to make it into finals at this point. There's only 5 women to go here, and she's in second place. So arithmetic tells me that
they're taking 8 women and 8 men to finals, and Margot Hayes will likely be one of them. She was the 2016 Sport Climbing Open and Youth National Champion. She placed second last year to Ashima Shiraishi, who once again is not competing due to a shoulder injury. So it's wide open for Margot to reclaim that title.
It's been a pretty big year for Margot since the last time we were here for Sport Nationals. Big feature in the Rail Rock Tour this year. Climbed another 515 since Nationals last year.
Yeah, 2 515s for Margot. Craziness. First woman in the world to climb a route rated 515 rather.
And now next for the guys, 24-year-old Josh Levin, one of the most decorated youth competitors in American history. Back here as an adult Nationals competitor, climbing out of Sunnyvale, California these days, where he's going to school, originally from the East Coast.
Just last month, Margot was in first place getting into Bouldering Nationals finals. She ended up taking 5th place, but she really stepped up her bouldering game and was climbing super well last month. But this competition is where Margot shines. She is a sport climber through and through.
So Margot Hayes moving into second place here at this point. Only woman to get higher, Claire Burfine. She has no way of knowing that in an awkward fall for Margot Hayes. Looks like she's okay, though. So I think she's a little bit disappointed, but see, getting some reassurance that she is, in fact, going to make it through into finals.
Yeah, that seemed like she was surprised by that just as much as we were.
Josh Levin looking strong, wrestling with that first set of volumes.
Josh is barely reeling that in. Doing a nice job of moving quickly. It's an ebb and flow in these sport routes between moving methodically and then moving quickly when the conditions warrant. And that's going to do it for Josh Levin. He'll be right in the mix, though, to make it into finals. Still waiting for any of the guys to make it through that section where Josh just fell.
And our next male competitor on the right, Ross Fulkerson.
Remember, we still have our top 5 male qualifiers, including the top 4 who both flashed the 2 qualifiers yesterday. So we're still waiting to kind of see what's what for the guys.
There's 21-year-old Kyra Condi. Salt Lake City native now, not native, Salt Lake City resident rather, as of January 1st of this year. She placed 4th in last year's Sport Nationals and Speed Nationals. Very, very decorated competitor. She is our 2017 Seagull Block champion. And surprisingly, this year she actually didn't make it into the finals of the Bouldering Nationals, but she was the last year's Dark Horse Bouldering champion as well.
Yeah, she missed finals by 1 attempt, I think, at Bouldering Nationals. It was very competitive for the women. She's sort of the anti-Delaney Miller when it comes to style here in sport climbing. Very quickly.
Yeah, it's been fun watching both of those competitors kind of over the years back to back. They'll make Roots look completely different.
Ross Fulkerson stepping up and getting started on the right for the guys.
And up next for the guys down there is Ross Fulkerson, 16-year-old from Portola Valley, California. Loves all the sports. Very decorated youth competitor. Took first at Youth Nationals.
And Kyra just kind of muscling her way through that crux. She looked confused for a minute, but sure enough, she found a sequence that would work, and she will just keep firing up as high as she can.
That's where Margot came off the wall, so Kyra moving into second place here. Trying to match the high point set by Claire Burfine. Not going to happen for Kyra Connie, but she will be into finals with that performance here in semifinals.
The route setting there on the women's sure seems great, actually, because they really are getting a good separation. The women are climbing up to a similar zone, but falling on different moves, which is exactly what they want to see.
Another low fall there this time for Ross Fulkerson. Tell he's frustrated with that. So we're starting to get some clarity for both the men's and the women's field going into finals here with just 4 guys and 3 women to go here. So Solomon Barth, Zach Galla, Noah Ridge, well positioned to have a chance at finals here.
And that's 16-year-old Brooke Robitou from Boulder, Colorado, and Team ABC. She was a podium finisher in last year's Open Sport Climbing Nationals, 3rd place, and also happened to be last year's all-around Pan American champion and combined Pan Am champion. Interestingly, Brooke was also 3rd place in last year's and this year's Open Bouldering Nationals.
Yeah, it feels like just a matter of time before Brooke takes down an adult nationals.
This really could be her year. Again, with Ashima not in the mix, Brooke has an even better chance of doing that.
And our fourth to last guy here, Sean Bailey, 21-year-old from Seattle, Washington, our national champion from 2016. Didn't compete last year, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, that's right. I remember now. We were wondering where he was. Turns out he was kind of busy, I think, training and climbing 515 with an ascent of biography.
And Sean, one of the only male competitors that competes on the adult World Cup circuit for lead climbing, made finals a number of times over in Europe, so it's great to see Sean out there representing the U.S., having success, hopefully inspiring other guys to get out there with him as well. Definitely a favorite to take down another national championship this weekend, regardless of if Kai Leitner was here or not. Unfortunately, not here, though.
You can tell by watching Sean climb that he is a competitor who's done so many comps, and like you said, just being on that World Cup circuit gives these competitors so much more experience than the others who are coming here, and maybe this is their only sport climbing comp of the whole year. And Brooke, of course, is one of the most experienced competitors in this entire competition, having been climbing actually since she was 1 year old. That's right, 1 year. Oh.
Give it up for Brooke Robitou, ladies and gentlemen.
So Brooke not able to match Claire's high point, but still does enough to make it into finals there. Sean Bailey, not surprising to see him look very solid in this section. See if he can figure this out for the first time here for the guys.
Oh.
And barn doors off, just as Noah Ridge did there. Tricky sequence there for the guys.
Yeah, kind of a surprise to see him fall there. I thought he was going to stick that. Apparently he probably did too.
It's just difficult for a move like that to come at the end where you can't really see the hold you're going to. You're trying to get off that steep section. There's just no way, if you hit the hold wrong or your foot pops off, just no way to recover.
There's a look at Michaela Kirsch, our second to last female competitor here. She is 23 years old, from Chicago. She placed 5th in last year's Sport Climbing Nationals, 3rd in the 2016 Sport Climbing Nationals. She always does well in Seco Block comps, always a smile on her face. And another thing I learned from her yesterday is that she is always very nervous before the comps. She never seems to feel prepared, yet she always seems to step up to the plate.
It's funny how many people at this comp try to sandbag us and pretend like they're not prepared. Or, I never sport climb. I'm not a sport climber.
Yeah. Here's one, Nathaniel. Oh yeah. Don't really climb on a rope. Whatever. He hiked the routes yesterday.
Yeah, that's Nathaniel Coleman, our reigning bouldering national champion for the guys, a 21-year-old from Murray, Utah, looking to join the club that Daniel Woods was in 5 years ago, being the reigning bouldering and sport climbing national champion in the same season.
Michaela is still fresh off the first female ascent of Necessary Evil, a 14C in Arizona's Virgin River Gorge, which even though the number, I guess these days, 14C really isn't that big of a deal, but that particular route has been around for more than 20 years, and it finally got its first female ascent, very quickly followed by Paige Clausen's second female ascent.
And if you joined us for Bouldering Nationals, you might notice that Nathaniel got a bit of a haircut since then, donating his hair to charity. So that was cool to see that.
She could have auctioned that hair off for many tens of thousands, probably.
See Nathaniel just powering through that section where a lot of the guys have struggled, not using the intermediates at all. He's just climbing with so much confidence these days. Being a multi-time national champion will do that for a guy.
My gosh.
Just nonchalantly setting a new high point for the guys here is Nathaniel Coleman. Punching his ticket to finals, and he loses the foot, and that's it. That's all he's going to need, though.
And meanwhile, Michaela is on the hold that Margot ejected off of right now, and she just kind of quietly climbed her way up to one of the higher points here. We'll see if she can match Claire's high point, but wow. Really putting her sport climbing technique to use here. That's kind of the patented Michaela shake that has gotten her to the top of many 514 pluses in places like the Red River Gorge. Oh.
So a great effort from Michaela Kirsch here in semifinals. Should put her through to finals. Remember, we're taking the top 8 from semifinals into finals. And we are almost out of climbers here, Chris Widener. And if we take a look at the scores here, Nathaniel Coleman not in there yet, but Solomon Barth, Zach Galla, Josh Levin, Noah Ridge, and Sean Bailey there. And for the women, Claire Burfine easily out in front at this point. Pretty much everyone that you saw in those rankings going to make it into finals at this point. As we welcome our second last male competitor out to the wall, Drew Ruana, 18-year-old from Redmond, Washington. Drew's still looking to break through at Adult Nationals. It's been close the last couple of years. Still looking for his first victory. his nemesis Kai Leitner out of the competition. Helps his chances a little bit.
And there is Alex Puccio in our sport climbing nationals. And turns out she, our bouldering national champion currently and 11-time overall bouldering national champ, turns out she's also good at climbing on a rope. She did so well yesterday in qualifiers, making both routes look easy. The only female to top Route B. I'm really excited to see her do this here today.
Drew's another climber who's been climbing since basically he became able to use his hands and feet in a coordinated fashion and climbing his entire life. And I feel like we've been hearing about him forever. One of the youngest climbers to do 514 several years ago. Been climbing at a high level for a long time.
And recently, Drew's been doing some work on new 514s at Smith Rock, which have been kind of either partially bolted or abandoned by legends. Oh.
Drew just going for it there.
Yeah, that was cool. Like, most competitors paused there for a bit, and Drew just made decisive moves and gave his best shot.
But you can really see the difference in level here from the last few guys on that section. Where no intermediates for Nathaniel or Drew, just powering right through. And this has been an extremely fast semifinal round here. We are down to our last competitors for the men and the women at this point. Just a question of who's going to make it into finals.
It was so clear yesterday that Alex Puccio had no trouble with any of the individual sections on those qualifiers. I expect we'll see the same today. Everything feels easy when you climb V14 very quickly, like Alex Puccio does.
Good save by Alex Puccio, the only female competitor to set both qualifying routes yesterday.
Turns out if the moves are easy for you, you just don't get as pumped.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I wish I would have realized that years ago.
Well underway.
So Alex well on her way to making into finals. She came close to winning a couple years ago in Boston. You know, as a competitor, she would love to take down this title as well.
And Alex is certainly no stranger to the longer competitions, narrowly missing first place in the Seagull Block comp this year, basically in a speed competition between her and Kyra Condi. That was exciting to watch.
That's a little bit of a mismatch there, just stylistically. So it's impressive to see Alex do so well. So Alex Puccio going to make it into finals as well here. Just a matter of where she's going to be slotted in the running order at this point. They'll be in reverse order of their semifinals position. So Claire Burfine going to be our top and last competitor out in finals tonight. All eyes now out on Dalton Bunker here, the 19-year-old from Orem, Utah. Our top qualifier for the men. Not looking as comfortable as Nathaniel or Drew on that section.
I feel like we've seen Dalton qualify really highly several times, but not quite put it together in the finals.
And so many of these guys just looking to break through. With Kai not here, our two-time national champion, and a lot of the old guard kind of not competing anymore. Dalton Bunker falling on the same move as Drew Ruana there. That should be close to having him in the finals. We'll have to check how the judges rank him. As we check on the scores here, you see Solomon Barth out in front for the guys. He's going to be our top qualifier going into finals. Zach Galla in finals once again, Chris. Nathaniel Coleman, Drew Ruana, Josh Levin, and Noah Ridge. That's your top six there right now. So
And for the women, we have Claire Burfine, the clear leader, Michaela Kirsch in second, Kyra Condi, Margot Hayes, Brooke Rabatu, and Delaney Miller. This is not at all surprising to see those six. In fact, those are the exact same six who qualified in the qualifiers. Those are the top six who made it into semis. So excited to see them all compete head to head. That's going to always be exciting.
All right, so Chris, that was a very exciting semifinal round. Quick, took 80 minutes or so. So that's how things go sometimes with sport climbing. We'll be back tonight at 6:30 Pacific time with our final round action. You can check out usaclimbing.org for the semifinals results once those are official. Remember, we'll be taking the top 8 into finals tonight, and then we'll have our speed climbing national championship after lead climbing tonight. So not going to want to miss that. We'll check you back here at 6:30 tonight. See you then.
See you then.
So I first started thinking about free soloing El Cap in probably 2008, 2009. And then the first several years, it was just this abstract dream. And each time I looked at the wall, it would fill me with fear. And then I had a couple of distinct experiences on El Cap where I was like, oh, I could actually imagine being up here ropeless. I had to sort of accept the dream, or sort of like embrace the vision of it before I could get into the nitty-gritty.
EP poured the first handhold in 1985. Here we are 30 years later. Chances are if you climbed inside, you've climbed on an EP hold.